Good evening, guys, and happy Sunday to all of your sunshiny faces. So guys, it was Easter today. We ended up going over to my aunt's house to celebrate. That was kind of the big highlight for today. And also too that I made successfully the like rice vegetable casserole thing that I was making in the morning before we had to leave, and it was done in time. That was the successful moment of today. I think I was telling you guys yesterday how I had a recipe. I made it last year, but the thing is, I think I found the recipe like on Pinterest or something like that, but I never saved it, and it was kind of a combination of like two-ish recipes, kind of. So I have a recipe for like, I think it's like a chicken broccoli rice cheese casserole kind of thing, and like Matthew loves it. It's like one of his favorite casseroles. So he always, like, he would ask like all the time. He's like, are we having that? Like, and it was kind of like an adaptation of like my mom's recipe too. I know when Matthew's like in high school, he like constantly was like asking like, are we having that? Like, I think he just called it the Ritz cracker casserole or something like that, because you normally put Ritz crackers on top of it. So it was kind of that, but it was also this like broccoli cheese rice casserole kind of thing. However, the thing is, I needed to make it all gluten-free. So I had to get like gluten-free cream of mushroom soup specifically from Target, because I knew Target carried it. I didn't think that, I saw Walmart might have a store brand that they have, like a Great Value brand that's gluten-free, but I was like, I don't want to go there, risk them not having it. So last week I went to Target and picked that up. I went like specifically to Target just to make that trip to go and pick it up. Then ended up also having to get gluten-free crackers to put on top of it. And the thing is that gluten-free crackers, in my opinion, are not, like, I would love if somebody would make this, because I think it'd be awesome. But gluten-free crackers, and like just gluten-free in general, is normally very crunchy. There's not a lot of like flake to like crackers or like anything like that. Like, I mean, chips are normally supposed to be kind of crunchy anyway, but just like gluten-free crackers in general are normally not like flaky, like Ritz crackers or club crackers, like that kind of stuff, like buttery and flaky like that. They're normally crunchy, and honestly, they kind of have a very similar texture to like tortilla chips kind of anyway. Like like textures normally kind of similar depending on what brand, but like they're normally, and they're like very thin, like very thin baked crackers kind of too. So even like, again, I've tried almond flour crackers, and the ones that I got to use today were cauliflower crackers. There was actually more than one peanut allergy at the party as well today. So at first I was going to use those, and I was like, I can't use those. So I made sure to get the cauliflower crackers from Aldi. I actually have them in here, that's why I keep looking over there. It's actually these ones from Aldi. They're like cauliflower crackers. But again, they're very, like, even, like, and they kind of, they're also, I think, vegan, but that wasn't something that I needed to care about. It was just that they were, like, and since it was a cheddar, like, casserole, I was gonna use, like, cheddar crackers. But I think both the cauliflower and the almond flour ones might both be vegan, but these ones are also nut-free. So I was like, I'm gonna use these. And again, they're also gluten-free. However, and they kind of look like, you guys can kind of tell, sort of like Cheez-Its. They don't, I wouldn't say, I think I only tried one of these though. I've normally eat the almond flour, or yeah, the almond flour kind ones, but I only had one of these before I used them for the casserole today, and then again crushed them up and put them on top of it. But they kind of look like Cheez-Its. They're not. They, to me, seem like if you made like homemade crackers, like that would be like, they're not like light and airy and stuff like that. They're very thin and crispy, which again too, if you like that, it's awesome. But like I do like that, and sometimes I do want something that's crunchy, but every once in a while I kind of just want something that's very light and flaky and stuff like that. And again, for topping for a casserole, I kind of wanted that. These actually, again too, you really couldn't tell that much of a difference because it was like in the casserole, so they were kind of like a little mushed up a little bit, you know, like they kind of got a lot of the moisture in them, so they were like not very like crunchy, you know, by the point that I had made them or whatever. But that's my one thing, is that there's not like a really, again, that I have found a gluten-free cracker that is like light. Even like a a Cheez-It cracker, they're still kind of like a little light, and they have like air pockets kind of and stuff like that. These are very like thin, like again, they're very dense. Now, the one thing I will say though about gluten-free pretzels, I like gluten-free pretzels more than regular pretzels because they're the opposite. To me, regular like crunchy, like again, sticks or whatever, or you know, again, the, what do they call it, like the knots and stuff like that, like regular pretzels, those to me seem way more dense than gluten-free pretzels, and I like that better actually. Like if I was eating gluten, I would probably actually just stick to gluten-free pretzels, although they're more expensive, but I would stick to those because I like them better. Like the texture of them, I like them more than regular pretzels. Like any type of pretzels, they just are a lot more light and kind of flakier, like if that makes sense too. Like I wouldn't say they like crumble when you eat them, but like they're not like, sometimes I'm like kind of gnawing on like even the like the long stick ones and stuff like that, kind of gnawing on them. These ones like are very like, I don't know, easy to like bite and chew and like that kind of thing. Like I said, they don't seem like they're as dense as regular pretzels. So like that's funny, like I said, that there's kind of like a difference between the two. The other thing I tried recently too is gluten-free, it was a gluten-free, I think it's made with rice flour possibly, croutons. Those, like the thing, I don't like croutons either. Again, they're very, very crunchy, but once they're in salad dressing, they do tend to kind of soften up a little bit. Gluten-free, like at least again too, the brand that I tried, which I haven't tried tons of brands of a bunch of different stuff, but the ones that I tried, they're not very, like, again, a really good alternative, but like if you're looking for something that's like the same texture, you're not gonna get it. They seem very, like I said, like dense, like not dense, they're still light, but like they're very, very crunchy. And again, didn't love that much because I'm used to like that. Even with my salad, after having them like in the salad dressing, like I said, I was expecting them to kind of like soften up a little bit, you know, because basically croutons are just bread that are just dried out, and that was kind of what I was expecting, to go back to kind of a little bit of a bread texture, and it didn't. It was like still crunchy the whole way through. It was just like a soggy, like, but not soggy, but it was just like a like dressing drenched crunchy bit of bread, dried out bread. So like I said, there's some things that like I like the textures of, and other things I don't necessarily like the texture of. And again, I was like, I'm only going to Aldi, so I have to figure out what pretzel, or no, not pretzel, but the cracker that I was going to use on the top. So that's what I went with. Like I said, that's just my opinion of like difference in texture of like gluten-free and not gluten-free. But again, I was making sure that the dish that I brought was gluten-free also, because I didn't know, I was kind of sure my aunt and uncle and my cousins, they were gonna be like come later, I think, for dessert. And so, but I made it because I know my uncle's also just recently too, like maybe about a year or so ago, also went gluten-free. So I was like, I want to make sure that there's something for him to have as well, you know, as like a side dish. Like I'd assume he could have like the ham and stuff like that. But again, most of the other stuff, like I said, the stuff that I like was looking at as far as I could have, there was, other than the ham, there, my aunt made potatoes, and I did check like kind of the ingredients. Like she was like, she uses like frozen potatoes, and it's like a cheesy potato, so it had like Velveeta cheese, which I did look up was gluten-free, at least for the most part, I think. And then she was like half and half, I think, or something like that. It was like a cheesy potato, so I was like, that should be gluten-free and safe. And again, if my uncle was there, like he could have that, and probably the ham as well. It was just that I wanted to make sure that I brought something that was like everybody could kind of have. And surprisingly, there was not a lot left afterwards, which I guess is a good thing, that like people were eating it and everything like that. The only thing I'll say is I did double the recipe, and when I did that, I don't think that I added enough seasoning really. So to me, it tasted kind of bland, but again, I did get several compliments that it was good, and like everybody was like, oh, it's really good. But again, sometimes I just take that as like people being nice. I don't really know. But you know, like I liked it. Like I said, I thought that it was just kind of bland. However, again, because I doubled the recipe, I probably should have just not doubled the recipe. But when I did, I made too much more than even the pan that I could like fit and take with. So I had leftovers from like even that today, like that I didn't bring with. And then there was like a little bit of leftovers from the actual party too. So I have leftovers in the fridge now for probably a couple days. But it's still, like I said, I thought it was pretty good. It was just, it didn't have a ton of flavor to it. And again, that's kind of a me thing too. Like I love seasonings and like that kind of stuff like added to my food and stuff like that. And if you're a person that doesn't love that much, it might have kind of been okay. But like I said, I love things that have lots of spice and seasonings and all that kind of stuff. Like to me, that's what makes a dish, not necessarily the taste or the texture or any of that kind of stuff. Which is why, like I said, it's kind of interesting trying out a lot of gluten-free stuff as well, because sometimes for me, it's just if it like mimics it close enough. But the one thing with gluten-free is that the texture is way different. Like again, I've gotten over kind of too, also having been a vegetarian now for I think honestly 10 years almost, or will be 10 years I think this year or maybe last year. But the one thing is that like I was like, so long as I can just copy things that I liked without having meat in them, or again substituting like vegetarian or vegan meat, like as long as I can do that, it hasn't really changed much of what I can eat. Gluten-free has changed a lot. It's like very different. It's changed a lot as far as like texture goes. And a lot of things that feels like they don't mimic like real not gluten-free stuff that often. But like I said, some stuff I actually prefer over other non-gluten-free things. But anyways though, like I said, it seemed like for the most part the dish was pretty successful, which I guess was good. I was just stressing out that I wasn't gonna have enough time, and then also figuring out if I wanted to double the recipe or not. So but like I said, everything worked out, and the dish, you know, like it got there on time in one piece and everybody ended up, you know, having it, and I guess kind of liked it for the most part. But you know, and also too, like I said, it was kind of a traditional dish a little bit too. So like my cousin made something similar for Thanksgiving this last year. So it was something that's kind of traditional that I was able to make both vegetarian, which normally that kind of dish is, and then also gluten-free as well, with just a few minor tweaks. So anyways though, I'm going to take a shower and get to bed. I will see you guys in tomorrow's vlog. If you guys did enjoy today's, make sure you guys give a big old thumbs up.